Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about DJI Osmo Action 4. So let's dive deep into it. So we are talking about this puppy, Action 4, which is a $400 action cam. Now to give you a context of that amount, it's the same price as GoPro 11. Now be mindful, GoPro 11 was $500 when it was launched, but they have slashed the prices. It's not in sale, it has been slashed in prices. So now the price gap is almost same. Now it has much bigger sensor, and if I'm not mistaken, genuinely one of the biggest sensor, 1 by 1/3 inch. You can see it's huge sensor, f2.8 lens. So it sensor wise it's good. Now it compared to Action 3 when it was launched, it was only capable of doing 8-bit video, and they had to wait for basically firmware update to get to 10-bit. This time 10-bit is day one, and it has two log profiles. Each log profile is fine-tuned for certain use cases, meaning if you just want a certain type of look, go with this. If you want more post-processing latitude, go with another one. So you have a bit of leeway in how you utilize that. It has normal action camera things, 360-degree horizon stabilization, meaning you can spin it right around. You don't have to worry about it. And then it also has Wi-Fi live streaming, which if you want it, it can be done. And fast charging up to 18 minutes for 80%. Now, this is one thing you have to understand. All lithium chemistry, removing a certain unique chemistry, for example, lithium titanate oxide, LTO cells, all lithium cells are generally 1C. What is C? C is charging. 1C simply means you have to charge it in 1 hour. As in like complete healthy, everything is fine, is 1 hour. That is 1C. If you have a battery that is capable of 2C, that means in 30 minutes. If you have a battery capable of 3C, that means 15 minutes. So whenever you see normal lithium ion cell, if they tweak the chemistry, they can make that 1C very close to let's say 2C, but they can never actually go there, because if you have normal lithium ion, which these things have, 0 to 80% the voltage does not rise that much. So you can cram energy without too much hassle. You can just dump energy and it will eat it up, no problem. So that's why 0 to 80%, you good. After that, it will cause overheating to safeguard the battery and lifespan of the cell, because you can force it. It will not just go boom. You can force it, but it will shorten the lifespan. To make sure you have lifespan, they generally tone down after 80%. The logic is very simple. That's why even your smartphones, they will go from 0 to 30%, 0 to 80%. The deeper discharge it is, the quicker it can absorb energy. So you can be like, just go ham, like 150-watt charging, which yes, some mobile phones have that much. But again, after 80%, they're like, hey, let's relax. So do not freak out about this. Say why 80%. All lithium ion cell chemistry, unless you are using lithium titanate, has to do that. Like that's the law of chemistry. Then it has a much more robust chassis. It can go deeper, 18-meter deep waterproof, which is significant. What does that mean? That simply means if you are a prolific diver, free diving, that's that kind of depth. Like you can go deep. And it has backwards compatibility with quick release accessories, meaning the design they have created for Action 2 is the same here. So if you have like already invested in Action 3 ecosystem, you do not have to change something. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the same as Action 2. So if you have that ecosystem, brackets, mounting hardwares, all of them will work without too much hassle. So that's good. Battery is exactly same as Action 3. So if you had like bought extra batteries with that, no problem, you can just utilize it. So this is Action 4, big as sensor. So what about the performance? Well, the core improvement where you can say like, okay, I can tell the difference, and I truly mean it. Like side A, side B, you do not need to read the name. You will be able to tell flat out, okay, this is better, this is not better, especially in low light. And yes, it is that big of a difference compared to Action 3. So it's a meaningful improvement from Action 3 to this, especially in low light. Now micro SD card has been improved. So previous version, which I generally do not get, only supported 256 GB, which mind you, SD card have standards. Basically you have SD, then you have SD HC, high capacity, SD XC, extreme capacity. So when SD Association created that extreme standard, that standard was designed from 128 GB to 2 terabytes. So I generally find this half standard odd. It's like, first 256 was wrong. Just like, bro, we have, like, go to Amazon, you can find 512 GB for cheap. And right now, if you go to Amazon, you can find 1 terabyte for cheap. So why the heck you don't support it? That's like really odd. But again, it is what it is. At least better than 256. And given the fact that it's available, like you can just go and buy it. I do like the idea, but I would have wished they just go with 2 terabytes. So if you are use it in future, because it has battery replaceable, so you can keep this using this for many years to come. Especially if you want quality footage and all you do in daytime shooting, you're good. So that I do find odd, but at least better than 256. Better underwater color gamut correction, meaning whenever you are going underwater, cameras generally get confused. The reason for that is twofold. First, camera does not have true color image. What it has is subpixels, and subpixels basically pixels can only tell you brightness, either how bright it is. So you put a color filter on top of it, but again, how do you put color filter? You need 3 color filters. So we balance it by putting a red, green, blue, green. So we have double the green, and that's why you will notice whenever you are pushing camera to low light, generally it turns green. The reason for that is because of red and blue, you're only getting half data, 25%, 25%. Green is getting 50%. So underwater, it gets amplified by a lot. So it becomes very weird. It's like underwater color requires certain attitude adjustment, so to say, so it feels good. So this time they are doing that specific tuning, so to say, and it does have extra color sensor. So utilizing that, I expect them to, like, I've actually done a lot of testing to reach a point where they can like give you a much pleasing image. So it has better color gamut, embedded gyro data in the video files. All cameras like this, be it GoPros, be it Sony mirrorless, generally have a gyro sensor that tells you XYZ movements, and then you have XYZ rotation, how it's rotating and all that. So utilizing all of that, there is a metadata layer created. That metadata feeds into your what we call electronic image stabilization. So it crops inside the sensor and then moves it around. That's awesome and good, but here's the deal. What if you're not happy with it? You're stuck. It already cropped it. So this metadata layer is the simple logic of record as much as you can. Create the metadata layer, because you need to know how the camera was moving in order to compensate for it properly. So you take the metadata layer, you take the full video, which is unstabilized, you put it in a computer, now you fine tune it. Why? Well, here's the deal. It's about feeling. Whenever you stabilize something to nth degree, like let's say you take a GoPro and you stabilize the hell out of it, it will look a bit dead. It's like, oh, it's just a thing. Like, it's just a thing. It may feel dead, but you may be like, this is too much. I want to tone it down. How would you tone it down? It's baked into the video. For that reason, people do prefer having that metadata layer and then having control over it. It's exactly the same reason why cinema cameras do not have generally autofocus. They don't even try to have it. The idea is you're going to have a focus puller who's going to give the feeling to it. So same thing goes here. It has like embedded gyro data, so you can control it, the feeling of how stabilized the footage is. Control over noise and sharpness. This is also another ease of life, ease of use sort of system. The Action 3 basically did not have this. Action 4 does have it, because be mindful. This is one thing that the DJI is doing better, because everybody knows GoPro looks like GoPro. DJI, because again, they are a bit different company coming from drone and different sort of architecture, they can make their camera look like camera rather than, oh, it's a GoPro. It's a camera. It has a different sort of feel to it. To improve that feel, they give you the deep level control. Be mindful, these things are baked into the video. You cannot change it. Like whenever you are denoise the file, all it will do is like try to remove it post-processing. So you want to make sure the file is clean. How do you do that? If the camera company does not give you control, you can't do it. So that's why this gives you the control. So you have noise control and sharpness control. So that means you can fine tune it exactly how you like. So these are basically ease of life upgrades. So what about improvement? Well, here's the deal. Somebody smart was sitting in their company. I can guarantee you that. Somebody was very smart. It was like, hey, we have this camera, which many times people do use multiple of them. For example, if they are setting up a very complex shot, or they are cooking show and all that jazz, then many times people do have multiple camera setup. But here's the, how do you sync multiple camera? Well, you manually sync it, but that's a painful. How do you automate it? You use timecode. Now, timecode is a very ancient technology. We developed it back in the old days of 1970s, and that's how all broadcast work. And there is an upgraded version of timecode which we call Genlock. Now let's not go into Genlock. Timecode is basic level. For some reason, this technology is not common in every equipment. For some reason, it can be done. It can be done quite easily, but it's just like, no. And somebody was there, hey, we have multiple camera setups and we have the ability to connect to a basically computer or a smartphone. Why not just dump a timecode data? And I'm like, thank you. Now, to be mindful, I have looked into I have provided the video down below that people is showing me the menu of both of these, Action 3 and Action 4. Both of them have timecode. Only in Action 3, it's grayed out. So I do know it can be done. Let that be very clear. It's not a new technology. It's like everybody else is an idiot or focused too much on. It's like, hey, what if we give this feature? People will not buy our hyper overpriced gadget. I'm looking at Canon. So I'm really happy that somebody figured it out. It's like, hey, let's make people life easier. Let's not make it unnecessarily complicated. So this is smart, good. Then it has a new add-on, that is GPS Bluetooth remote control. Now this I find odd, is that it does use Bluetooth. It does have that dongle you have to buy. Be mindful, it does not come in the box. You have to buy it separately. It has GPS. Now, I'm like, the reason given is like it allows them to have better battery. Now, do they have better battery compared to, let's say, GoPro 11? Yes, not by extreme much. It's not like 1 hour versus let's say 5 hours. It's not that extreme, but it's better. Now I'm like, wouldn't it have been better if it could directly read data from mobile phone? Everybody has mobile phone, and if you're using Bluetooth to transmit data, you could have done that. That's like, smart person was not here. It was here, but they just push it there. We could not push it there. It's like, that would have made it so awesome, because again, not everybody needs this, but who needs it may not need to buy an extra gizmo or gadget. And would they have bought it? Absolutely, they would have bought it. It's like, if you are doing this sort of thing, you're not going to pull your mobile phone into risk. So they would have still bought it, but other people would have gotten better use of it. So that I do find odd. Then it does have mic input, which again, nowadays, thankfully to emergence of USB-C, it can be done. And we have full-fledged mic input, and DJI also makes their own microphone. So my brother already has this, so it's a very good system. Be mindful, you can attach other microphones also using a USB-C to 3.4 dongle. It can be done. So that's there. It is much wider than GoPro. Let that be very clear. Of course, you will not notice it unless you are comparing side by side, but it is fundamentally wider. For some people that may be desirable, for other people it may not be desirable, but it is wider. Let that be very clear. Now AI algorithms, because it's a second iteration on the same CPU, they have improved the algorithms. Now it can do stick removal in much more diverse situation. In back in the early variants, it was like you have to be snowboarding or you have to be swimming. In those sort of things, it can remove the stick, but now it can remove sticks in almost all scenario. Basically, AI has been polished. Much better wind and noise reduction, which I was genuinely shocked, given the fact that most time wind reductions is like nobody is seriously looks into it. This time I think somebody in the company used it and they were like, dude, this is garbage, I have to fix this. So that's there. However, be mindful, the battery life compared to Action 3 is poor. Why? Even though everything else is same, is the sensor is much bigger. So fundamentally, it's consuming more energy. So improvement is there, but be mindful, it's not too drastically bad, but it is compared to if you're used to Action 3 battery life, you have to be like 10-20% lower. But I really like the time code idea. This is a bit odd, and really wished like they had mobile phone dumped into it, but it's really clever. This is clever. This is like somebody sat down, it's like, hey, how can we make things clever? So I'm happy about that. So what about the competition? Now this is where the good news ends. At this point in time, it's the same price as GoPro 11, meaning when I'm checking this in Amazon, when I'm making this video, it's very close to each other. Of course, it will fluctuate a little bit here and there, but it's very close. And that creates a very awkward conversation. For example, when GoPro 11 came out, it was fundamentally exponentially better than what Action 3 could do, but it was exponentially more expensive. It was launched at $500, while this puppy Action 3 was launched at $350. So people were like, hey, GoPro is better, but it's more expensive. Do you want to spend that much? No, then have this, have fun. This time the price delta is almost zero. That gets an issue, that all they have improved is sensor. While it does, like Action 4 is comparatively better than Action 3. This is one thing you can tell them apart. It's not exponentially better compared to GoPro. It's not like, oh, GoPro has smaller sensor, because we have sensor is just one line. Sensor is the first line. Like, you have to have better lens, then you have to have better sensor, then you have to have better algorithms to crunch that puppy, then you get better video file. So crunching part, I'm pretty sure GoPro is doing exponentially better. So it's not that big. You will think like it will be like comparing a GoPro to a mirrorless camera. It's not that much. So be mindful. The quality is good. It's not like, oh, I bought this, I'm regretting it. No, it's good, but it's not unmatched. It's not like, oh, somebody can come up with like a 1-year-old GoPro 11. You'll be like, bro, GoPro 11 is like, it is on something different. Now, because the price delta is close, now people are competing it. And it does have better temperature headroom. For example, for Indian audience, that would be very desirable, unless you, like, especially if you are in a hot environment where you're static. So if you are in a hot environment, you are driving a vehicle, that's not an issue, especially if it has wind blowing through it. But if you are in a static environment which is hot as India, yeah, then I would say go with Action 4 for one simple reason: that puppy actually has much more tolerance in hotter climates. So it does have more than that. However, if you zoom out from it, it looks like it's a half-baked rushed launch. It's like I had to literally look into it, like what is the gap between Action 3 and Action 4? It's little bit less than basically 1 year. So it's like, why? And again, GoPro has years to reach a point where they have reached that 1 year cadence. iPhone had years to reach that point where they had 1 year cadence. They did not have that kind of experience there where they can like sort out everything, fix every bug. It's like, it felt half-baked because resolution is outdated. Sensor is better, let that be very clear, but sensor is not shining. Why it's not shining? Because the processor, it cannot capture the full square image. Now GoPro can do square image. Now it's like, why the heck square image matter? Here's it: your sensor always projects, lens always projects in circle. What is the easiest way to cover the whole lens projection area? It's a square. Square is the most efficient area. Benefit of that, if you, let's say, you capture the whole square sensor, now you can crop the video in post, meaning you capture the full lens output and you do not physically have to rotate it because it will not make a difference. Sensor is square, lens is projecting a circle, everything is fine balanced. You get the full video out of it, and then like, hey, vertical, hey, square, hey, wide, everything would be fine. Like, this was in really clever use. It's not whoa, it's like clever, like genuinely clever. I do get it. Why the heck camera companies like Sony or Nikon or Canon do that in their, like, full frame cameras. Well, again, that sensor is huge. That's super expensive to make square. Here it's like, bro, it's a tiny sensor. Let's make it square. And again, I'm pretty sure Action 4 is almost at the same ratio as square. They could have pushed it that much. And even if they did not, they could have captured a square image out of it. Of course, letting go of a little bit of width, so to say, but they did not. So that does feel odd. The FPS, like 4K 120 FPS, is not wow. In 2023 especially, be mindful, this was ahead 1 year ago, but it was expensive. Now it's the same price and it's still more ahead than Action 4. And that low light capacity, because of the poor performance, it's not like, whoa. It's like, okay, I can see. For some people with like, I like that. And again, if you are using a multicam setup, if you really want time code, you'll be like, shut up, take money. There are certain cases where they're like, shut up, take money just for that specific use case. But other time you may be like, really? So this is the competition part of it. It's a bit more difficult. I did expect them to like really upgrade the processor. It's not about the sensor, it's about the processor nowadays. So this was my presentation on Action Cam 3. Action 4. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please give the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.